Hello everyone, good evening. I'm really pleased to be here, although I need to make this disclaimer. I'm no authority on this topic. So I guess a lot of persons have come to hear about this, believing they're going to probably hear from an authority. I just did a research, and I'm really happy to share what I learned in the course of my research. There's so many of us here, which I feel like because of our tech background, we already know this thing. But then most of us always want to learn something new. And that's what we're going to be hearing today. So basically, I'm going to be talking about online fraud, just on the surface. And I'll be talking about fake websites and demographics. So precisely, I had two websites built, one an imitation of the other, and then I sent it out to some people and I asked them to tell which one is fake. You know, I put some fraud cues on that site, hoping that a lot of them, if not all of them, will see the fraud cues, but some people still didn't see the fraud cues. So it's quite interesting that we have some people like that, despite their demographics, despite their age, despite education, despite income, and all of that. So we'll be seeing some of that in the course of my talk. So to start off, this is what I'll be talking about, what's online fraud, why it's thriving, the common online frauds we have, the fake websites which I worked on, and then the research results and the key takeaways. So, and then afterwards, we're going to be talking. You're going to share your experience, and I'll share my own experience. Have you ever had any issues? Have you had any encounter with either your app, whatever it is, someone you know? So we're going to be sharing that because that's what cybersecurity awareness is all about. You know, you want to hear what's going on so that you're aware. So let's just move on. I'm going to try and be quick. So what's online fraud? Most of us already know what it is, but for the sake of this talk, it's any fraudulent activity, any misrepresentation that you're trying to lead someone astray just to get something out of them. It could be for a financial gain, it could be just their personal details, it could be anything at all. And then we know that online fraud, as the name implies, happens on the internet, either the websites or emails or web portals, whatever it is, chat rooms. You've heard about WhatsApp scam. You've heard so many things going on, and I can tell that most of us are already aware. I'm sure when we start to share our experiences, we would be able to tell more on this. The image we can see here is quite, I know it's scary, but that's what it is. And I wish after this class, if we can do more of this, educating people, not even people in the tech, because most of them are aware, you know, but people outside the tech community. So we'll be looking also at online fraud. Why is it thriving? The internet is a tool. Most of us can't do without it. If you were able to do without it, you'd probably be on the hill. You know, you would have no business being here. The apps you use, your phones, and all of that. So basic reason why it's thriving is because the internet is there and people are using it for various things. So the fraudsters also want to use it to gain more money and have access to what's personal to you. There's the financial gain. That's one reason. It's a major motivation for most fraudsters. There's also that part where you don't know who is behind the screen, so they're anonymous. They're getting away with what they're able to get away with. There's also the ability to reach as many people as possible. That's something that really drives them. You know, you send just a WhatsApp message or anything at all. You send a link to a friend. Oh, please put this out there. You probably would get something free and all of that. You have people trying to forward that same email or whatever it is that you've sent to them just to spread it across. So that's one reason why most of them will still engage in online fraud. They're able to reach as many people as possible. There's also that aspect of people being unaware. That's a major problem. We'll look at the social engineering parts. That's very interesting to me because it's something that everyone engages in, social engineering. You know, you want to get something out of your wife, you want to get something out of your daughter, the politicians are doing it, the policeman is doing it, everyone does it. But in this case, these guys are trying to manipulate you. They want to get something off you. So you being aware that such a thing exists, not trusting the trust, the manipulation, putting people in authority, or rather imitating people in authority just to get ahead and get what you need from your victims. And then there's the parts where it's difficult to even identify who they are, not to talk of being able to prosecute them or even track them. Oh, sorry. I'm supposed to be using this. Okay. I know if I asked everyone here to name one online fraud, there'll be so many, and the list is actually endless, right? But these are the popular ones some of us are aware of. There's a fake website, there's a phishing, there's business email compromise. It's happening every day, and I'm sure we're going to share our experiences afterwards. So the second one is it's related to the third and the fifth. Yeah, so a lot of times, right, when people get these emails, especially the unsuspecting ones, they click on it and for whatever reason, they're able to get those details that are quite personal to them. And then sometimes they part away with money, but we'll share those experiences afterwards. So like I put out here, the extent of online fraud is only limited by the imagination of the offender, which is very, very true. You can think about anything. Like I said earlier, if you wanted to get something from someone, you know what to do to get it. The same thing applies. If these guys want to get something from you, they'll probably study you over time, and then they know what to do to get that from you. So this list is endless, but that's what we have here. So I'll just pause a bit. Looks like I'm going very fast. So the fake websites, if I would look at all of them one after the other, it's something that I got to know more of when I even started doing this research. The eBay sites, some people are even unaware that what they're looking at is not the authentic site. There's so many other sites that people have tried to scam, even trying to get your license. You'd see that you're clicking on the wrong site, and so many others like that. Well, this is a tech group, so I wouldn't even go into details about all of this, but these are the common ones. Now for the fake website, like I mentioned earlier, you have what is an official site and the other is unofficial, but the search brings up everything. And if you're not aware of what's going on, you're likely going to pick the wrong site, right? And you'd be a victim. I actually took this image from a site called This Money. Now, the lady who talked about what had happened to her mentioned that she parted ways with her money while she was trying to renew her daughter's visa. Now that's just one case that was recorded. I'm very sure there are so many of them that are not recorded, they're not reported. So you would imagine what's going on even as we're having this talk at the moment. So for fake websites, there are basically two types. There's a counterfeit. There's the copy of the original, right? It's just an imitation. It looks like the real one. Now, there's the other sites that's also fake. There's no business behind it. It's just a site. You're probably making an order on that site, and whatever orders you placed would never get back to you. You're just parting ways with your money. It's not coming back to you. So these are the two types of fake websites there are. I don't know of a third one. I'm hoping that if there is, someone will tell us here. Now, this is the research I actually worked on. And if you look on the screen, you would find out that I made a copy of that site. The original one, the authentic one, didn't have an SSL. It was just the original one, but this is the fake website. And I put it forward. I sent it out and I asked the people who, the research participants, I asked them to identify the site that is fake using these fraud cues, as you can see there. And the results I got is interesting. But now these are the fraud cues, and this is for sites that are a copy of the original. You find fraud cues like lengthier URLs, where a site such as M&S already has its own domain name and all of that. If you were to make a copy of M&S, you'd probably be adding M&S store. You'd add something extra, so that makes it longer, right? At other times, it could just be a misspelling, just so that you will deceive whoever is looking at the site, right? So these are fraud cues that people should be aware of. But there's also the challenge of looking at lengthier URLs. There are also platforms that allow you shorten your URL. So you don't just look out for a site that has a lengthier URL, you're looking beyond the URL. There's also the bit of SSL, which some sites don't have. But trust me, even the fake sites will have SSL. So it's not the only criteria. There are other things there, the images. There's a lot going on now. Some people are working to ensure that these fraudsters don't have their way all the time. So some people are working on, they're using machine language to help you detect fake websites when you see them, right? And such applications would check the source code, which we can see, except as tech people, you can always find out what source code is behind this, right? But for those who are working on, who are trying to ensure that people don't fall victims, they would have to check the source code. They'll put it in the database so that their application or whatever they're using to find out these fake websites can always detect it. Some even help you check the kind of image, if it's a copy, if it already exists on the internet and all of that. Now there's a fraud cue that is interesting to me, and that's the design and aesthetics. So there's this group that believe that fake websites are poorly built, right? You're likely going to see errors on the site, you would see blurred images, you see a lot to help you quickly identify that these are fake websites, right? But there's this other group that believe that fake websites are aesthetically pleasing. They're beautiful, so you can hardly tell. And I believe such sites are sites where they're the second type of sites where you probably make a payment. You make the payment, you order the goods, and it will never get to you. Right. So in as much as you're trying to see that, we're looking out for what's not properly done on the site, you also want to be careful that even the fake sites can be well built. The last part is a message which I had mentioned earlier when I talked about social engineering, right? There are people who they're looking out for discounts all the time. And for such people, I'm sure you always get them with things like this, buy one and get one free, 80% discount, so many of such things, and then there's the part of urgency, right? This, whatever discounts it will last only for tonight. Now, what I understand is it's not applicable for fake websites alone. Even the authentic websites, they employ these marketing strategies, right? But when you're looking at a site and you're trying to see if this site is fake, you probably want to have a combination of these fraud cues, to be able to detect a fake website. Now to the research results. So this is what I came up with. The demographics I used as for my country, I went back to Nigeria. Not traveling, I actually used the WhatsApp. So I sent the message to them, and I wanted to be sure that most of them were in Nigeria. So what I had to do was, I asked the question, where are you located, in Nigeria or abroad, or prefer not to say? And most of them said they were in Nigeria. So those were the data I recorded. Now, it's a lot to see here, but what's important to note is that 82 people participated. Now, 44 of them were females. They all identified as either females or male. Now, 44 of them were female, and the other were males. Now, it's interesting to note also that in the course of the research, I asked them a question. Have you had any form of cybersecurity training? more than half of them said no. I said, whether formal or informal, they said no, they've not had any cybersecurity training. So I went on to ask, I asked so many questions, which I believe were not really relevant. But if we sat down to look at the details, I'm sure those who can use them for probably building applications or doing anything centered around those group of people would be able to use it. But the other question I asked is, would you be able to identify a fake website? And some people said yes, or maybe, and then the others said they won't be able to. So I have a lot of them being able to identify the fake website. So if you see on the screen, I'll get down to what's important to us. But here, you'll notice that a lot of people participated. Let me just get down to the important screen. So a lot of people participated. But what's, let me see. Okay, so what's important to notice, most of them said they've not had any cybersecurity training, right? But because I wanted to get this feedback, I had to do something that would make a lot of them recognize the fake website. If you look at this site, you would realize that at the top left, you see not secure. So I feel like that's easy for anybody to be able to tell, showing you two sites, that this is the fake one. But in spite of showing them that, most of them still were unable to recognize a fake website. So the graph actually shows all the participation. And what's important to us is this. Now, these are the people that wrongly identified the fake website. And this got me worried because I'd already given you a clue. So why wouldn't you get it right? You know, but here we have the participants were aged 18 to 54. I didn't get 55 and above, so probably most of them don't shop online, or I don't even have those demographics, so I wouldn't even put them, they're not part of this. If you look at the graph, you would see that every age group that participated had at least one person being unable to identify the fake website. Both the men and the women that were participating or participated, they didn't identify it properly. Now, it's interesting to note that even bachelor's degree holders and master's degree holders got it wrong. I was wondering what's going on here. And even the income earners, those earning 300,000 naira and above, it really shocked me. So you have a lot of money to spend, and if you wanted to shop online, but you don't even know how to stay safe, right? So this got me worried, and this even got me worried the more. This ones said no, they won't be able to identify it. Now, I'm thinking it's possible that they just didn't want to participate, not that they would get it wrong, because why wouldn't you pick something, you know? But then that's what the data says. So despite the age, despite the gender, despite their education level, despite their income, they still, this group of people were still unable to identify the fake website. So it just boils down to one thing. You either have cybersecurity awareness or knowledge, or you don't have it. It doesn't matter how old you are, what your gender is, or what education level, or even how much you earn or how much you have to spend, right? Because it's an interesting area. A lot of people are doing different things in cybersecurity. Some of them are working on the machine learning. They're doing different things, right? But it's important to know that in spite of what you're doing, you want to carry people along. Like, you want to be sure that they know what's out there and they know how to protect themselves. And lastly, I'll talk about the key takeaway. So for me, and for everyone, I believe, online fraud is a growing concern, and everyone is a target. Whether you're an individual, an institution, the government, even the educational institution, any organization at all, you're a target. As developers, you know how you secure your application, you know what you must do. Even for your databases and all of that, your networks, you have to secure it. It's very important, right? So it's a growing concern, and even now that AI is the talk, so I would ask you to imagine an AI-enabled fraud. Like, I don't want to think about it because, yeah, my imaginations will go really far, right? But at the end of the day, it's what it is. If you are thinking of how to use AI to assist you in your job role or whatever you do, right? Imagine the fraudster. And trust me, they're always one step ahead. I don't know how they do it, but they're thinking ahead. They're even more security conscious than a lot of us, right? So we're talking about it now. What it means is that they're already working on something, but we don't know what it is. But what's important is that everyone should be involved. Now, the demographic variables I've already talked about. It's clear that they don't have any significant influence on whether people are able to identify a fraudulent website or not. Cybersecurity awareness and continuous education, that's something we all need to take seriously, and it's the only way to stay safe online. And then take caution of your emotion. That's something, even as a tech person, whoever you are, I think I read, in the course of doing this research, I read a lot, and I was trying to streamline what I have to talk about because it's a very broad area. You know, I read about a lady who said if one told her that she would be a victim of online fraud, she would say never. But she was. And then I read how it happened, you know, which is a good thing because in this space, you need to read about what's going on. It gives you, it helps you stay ahead, right? So take caution and take care of your emotion. The think rather than feel is something that most people need to have it at their fingertip, and then give it time. Speak to someone when in doubt. I'm not sure that's for people in tech because you already understand these things. But then again, it's never too much to hear what's important. And then lastly, if it's of value to you, trust me, it's of value to them, right? Stay safe online and help someone stay safe online. Thank you. So I would welcome questions now. And afterwards, I would like us to share our experiences. I do have lots of experiences, and I'm sure I'm going to be able to learn from someone here as well. It's not just about the experiences, it's also about ways to help us stay safe online. It could be based on the application you're working on, it could be based on whatever you're doing, right? You have something to share. Thank you.